Distinguished visitors, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Colonel Donald R. West, Commander of the Northern Regional Medical Command, good morning and welcome to the United States Army Medical Department activity, Fort Lee Change of Command Ceremony. Today we extend a special welcome to our distinguished visitors. Major General and Mrs. Weish, Command Sergeant Major Sims, Lieutenant General Retired Weissman, Mr. Moore, Command Sergeant Major Offer, Colonel and Mrs. O'Neill, Colonel Daly, and Command Sergeant Major Hall. During today's ceremony, several significant events will occur. Honors to the nation will be rendered, and we will conduct a change of command for Fort Lee's Army Medical Department activity, further referred to today as USA Medac Fort Lee, whereby Colonel Joseph S. Pina, Commander, will relinquish his command to Colonel Thomas S. Bunt. The presentation of a gift to family members of the outgoing commander is a long-standing tradition. These gifts are given as a symbol of thanks for the support provided during the commander's tenure. Although she is unable to attend today's ceremony, the appreciation and gratitude of the soldiers and civilians of Kenner Army Health Clinic is extended to Ms. Pina for her dedicated support to the organization. Also, although unable to join us for the ceremony today, we also want to recognize Ms. Elizabeth Bunt, wife of our incoming commander, and their son, Albert. We will formally recognize the Bunt family upon their arrival at Fort Lee this summer. The host commander for today's ceremony is Colonel Donald R. West, Commander of the Northern Regional Medical Command. The outgoing commander is Colonel Joseph S. Pina, and the incoming commander is Colonel Thomas S. Bunt. At the center of the field is the Commander of Troops, Lieutenant Colonel Eric E. Polson, Deputy Commander of Administration, USA Medac Fort Lee. The medical company, USA Medac Fort Lee, is led today by Captain Lori B. Guttrell. The Fort Lee Army Band is under the direction of Staff Sergeant Samuel Hunt. And the USA Medac Fort Lee Color Guard for today's ceremony is led by Sergeant Yannick Roberts. Construction of a hospital at Camp Lee began in November 1940 as the United States mobilized for her inevitable involvement in World War II. Camp Lee Station Hospital was ready for occupancy on 30 March 1941 with 871 beds. By October 1942, the hospital expanded to 2,000 beds. Camp Lee's hospital was redesignated a regional hospital on 7 June 1944, the day after Operation Overlord was launched. The hospital was downsized in 1947 when capacity was reduced to 1,100 beds. The hospital was renovated in 1949 and redesignated as U.S. Army Hospital Fort Lee in 1950, when Camp Lee was named a permanent post. As part of Fort Lee's conversion from World War II vintage wooden structures to modern structures, groundbreaking for the current facility took place in 1959. Plans called for the new facility to operate 100 beds, built on a platform with the capability to expand to 200 beds. On 16 April 1962, Kenner Army Hospital was dedicated in memory of Major General Albert W. Kenner, Medical Corps, a veteran of World War I and II. On October 1996, Kenner Army Community Hospital was officially redesignated the Kenner Army Health Clinic. On 1 October 1996, Kenner Army Health Clinic was officially redesignated the Kenner Army Health Clinic. Kenner Army Health Clinic today is a multi-specialty outpatient center with 2 supporting troop medical clinics, including a staff of nearly 500 personnel, providing primary care, select specialty services, and healthcare coordination for over 32,000 eligible beneficiaries and 45,000 students annually. While no longer operating as a hospital, Kenner and Fort Lee are supported by a robust TRICARE network of medical centers, hospitals, and specialty provider groups that support the soldiers, family members, and retirees of our Fort Lee community. As the heart of a system for health, Kenner Army Health Clinic remains committed to promoting, sustaining, and enhancing the wellness of the Fort Lee community, keeping our patients' trust through quality and compassion. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the invitation delivered by Dr. James Walker and the singing of the national anthem by soloist Gabrielle Bergeret.
Let us pray. O gracious God, whose command is over all the earth and whose love never faileth, you commanded, saying, "Let there be light," and there was light. We invoke the light of your presence and blessings upon this change of command, and we gather to honor and say farewell to our commander and friend, Colonel Joe Pina, and yes, a physician and leader, an innovator and visionary, a servant and a soldier. Thank you for the positive differences he and his lovely wife, Sue, although she's under weather today, have made in the Kerner Clinic, Fort Lee, and the Tri-Cities and beyond. May your grace and peace guide them as they transition to command the Lorenzo Clinic at the Pentagon. With warm and a kindred spirit, O Lord, we open our heart and welcome Colonel Bunt and his wife, Elizabeth, and their son, Albert. Bless them with favor as they lead Kerner Clinic to the next level. Bless our nation, its leaders, servicemen and women at home and those around the world. It is in your holy and magnificent and matchless and monumental name we pray this prayer. Amen.
Detachment, present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets in clear, no bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Detachment, order, arms. Sound order arms and parade rest.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The unit colors are traditionally at the front of the formation and signify the continuity of the organization. These colors represent not only the heritage and history of the unit, also the unity and loyalty of its soldiers. The colors are the commander's symbol of authority, representing his responsibilities to the organization. Wherever the commander is, there also are the colors. The custodian of the colors is Sergeant Major Reginald D. Crosby, Fort Lee's USA Med Sergeant Major. At this time, the reviewing party will post in front of the colors for the change of command. The transfer of colors at a change of command ceremony signifies an important military tradition dating back to the days of knighthood. In those days, when the art of war was both brutal and personal, the battlefield leaders were distinguished by their colors. As battles raged and leaders fell, the passing of the colors became a method for passing on the succeeding designation of battlefield leaders. This tradition, born out of necessity, has continued to evolve into the military ceremony that is used today. Soldiers come and go, but the unit lives on through the dedicated efforts of every past and present member. The spirit of the United States Army medical activity is embodied in the organizational colors and guiding. The acceptance of the colors and guidon by the new commander from the old symbolizes the transfer of command. Under provisions of the Army Regulations 600-20, paragraph 2-5 Delta, the undersigned assumes command of the United States Army Medical Department activity, Fort Lee, effective 8 February 2013. Signed, Thomas S. Bunt, Colonel, Medical Service Corps Commander. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander of the Northern Regional Medical Command, Colonel Donald R. West.
And good morning, Major General White, Lieutenant General Retired Weissman, Mr. Moore, Commanders, Sergeant Majors, distinguished guests, visitors, friends, and family of Colonel Pena and Colonel Bunt, and more importantly to the soldiers, NCOs, officers, civilians, and supporters of Kenner Army Health Clinic. Thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend today's ceremony as we mark the passing of the colors from one outstanding leader in Colonel Pena to Colonel Bunt. In the Army tradition, when one outstanding leader leaves a command, we ensure that another outstanding leader is standing by to take his or her place. And today's ceremony is a testament to that tradition. Welcome and thank you again for joining me today. I'd also like to thank Staff Sergeant Hunt and the Fort Lee 392nd Army Band for their stirring musical contribution to today's ceremony. Their music adds a sense of grace and pageantry, which is remarkable. So let's give them a round of applause. It is great to be able to visit a beautiful post such as Fort Lee, where so many of the Army's best soldiers work and train. And the history of this post is important to the foundation of our nation. From the American Revolution through the Civil War, the Fort Lee area was a pivotal area in the fight for freedom. And with the construction of a hospital here, as was mentioned by the narrator, we prepared for World War II with the Camp Lee Station Hospital opening in 1941. And that support, of course, in support of the defense of freedom continues today. Today, the military, civilian, and contract staff of this fine medical treatment facility cares for the health of more than 30,000 soldiers, family members, and retirees, and provide PROFIS personnel that we at the regional headquarters count on in support of the ongoing conflict in Afghanistan. And before us stand some of the finest men and women America has to offer who work tirelessly sustaining the health of our Army. And with unabashed pride, I applaud their strong efforts and incredible accomplishments. And so let's give them a round of applause for enduring. Now, when you hear of just some of Kenner's recent accomplishments under the command of Colonel Joe Pena, you will be impressed, as I have been, with what this team has added to the organization's incredible legacy. To tell the story of Kenner Army Health Clinic over the past few years, you have to start with the BRAC. The base realignment and closure spurred significant growth at Kenner. Fort Lee is now one of the Army's largest training installations with more than 50,000 trainees annually. And the growing scope of the medical mission made 2 major healthcare construction projects and 4 other facility renovations necessary without a drop-off in service or, more importantly, in quality. And that's a true testament to Colonel Pena's leadership here during the last 2 years. He understands the way to build an outstanding patient experience is through the clinic staff. And I had the opportunity to mention some of the comments this morning during the presentation of his awards, saying that he is standing as a successful commander on the backs of those clinic staff members that work and do the work on a daily basis. So we all should be proud. He took a number of steps to ensure that the staff had incentives to improve every aspect of the healthcare experience. And the results were extremely positive across the board. And I know I'm standing in as the interim commander for the region with General Caravello's departure in January, and I know he would say if he were here that Fort Lee with Kenner, you're represented by the very best, and it's the best in the region. So Joe, a job well done. Now, I know that you didn't do this alone. It takes the support of a loving family to make these great accomplishments possible. And so to your wife, Susan, I definitely have to say personally, thank you for allowing Joe to play Army and focus on this great command tour. And I know that, Joe, when you both move to the D.C. area, you'll continue the legacy at the DiLorenzo Clinic at the Pentagon, where you'll be charged there with protecting the health of the leaders of the Department of Defense. And as I mentioned earlier, as one great commander leaves, another steps in to take their place. And we're fortunate to have Colonel Tom Bunt and his wife Elizabeth join the team. And of course, they come to us from Madigan Army Medical Center at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State, where he served as the Chief of Staff. Now, Colonel Bunt has served in various command and leadership roles, and here he'll have an opportunity to take Kenner to even greater heights. He is an outstanding officer by any measure, and he's definitely prepared for the challenges ahead. So, Tom, welcome to both you and Elizabeth to the team, and I look forward to your success. And I have every confidence you will find your footing quickly and keep Kenner Army Health Clinic firmly in the lead of the Army medical team. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for your attendance today. A special thanks to the team that put this ceremony together. And in closing, though, I must remind you all, it is absolutely our honor to serve those who serve our nation. So God bless each and every one of you, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Serving to Hill.
Colonel Joseph S. Pena.
It's so nice to see so many great friends here. In particular, I'm very happy to see my friend Dave Lane coming from Camp Lejeune. He's the commander of that great hospital there, and we've been battle buddies for a long time. I guess I can say that even though you're in the Navy, Dave. Major General and Mrs. Weich, Mr. Bill Moore, Colonel Promotable Ed Daly, Colonel Promotable John O'Neill, Colonel West, Colonel Harney, Lieutenant General Retired Weissman, Colonel Retired Diamond, fellow commanders, command sergeants major, distinguished citizens of the Fort Lee community, and friends of Kenner. Thank you all for weathering it out through the rain today to attend our ceremony. I'd like to give my personal thanks to the Change of Command Ceremony Committee who put this event together, and especially to our great Kenner Color Guard. You guys look particularly spectacular today and are an inspiration of the values instilled in this Army tradition. I'd also like to thank Staff Sergeant Hunt and the 392nd Army Band. Colonel West did his thanks, but since I'm a trombone player by heart, I do need to make sure I put that in. Your music has never failed to set just the right tone for any Kenner event and contributes an inspirational soundtrack that elevates each occasion to a higher level. I particularly would like to thank Miss Gabby Bergeret of the Richmond Symphony for that angelic rendition of the national anthem. That was outstanding. Now, when I was informed a month ago that we decided to do an indoor ceremony in McLaughlin Gym, I was at first a bit dismayed. However, physical fitness is a key piece to Kenner's mission, so it does seem appropriate. And given the current weather conditions, it was a good call. Besides, I understand that after the ceremony, the Kenner basketball team is ready to take on and give a shellacking to the Ordnance, Quartermaster, and Transportation teams combined in a pickup game. Whoa. Where's Steve Carrozza out there? Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Dr. Seuss. I have to thank Rodney Fogg for that perfect quote. Well, I'm crying and smiling at the same time right now. To say that this first command has been rewarding for me would be an understatement. When Major General Holly Bolin, the then Northern Regional Medical Command commander, informed me that I had to leave Hawaii and take command in a place called Fort Lee, I asked her, "Where the heck is that, ma'am?" But shortly after I arrived, met my team, and started working with our people and our patients, I had my Jerry Maguire moment. In other words, Kenner had me at hello. And I didn't realize that I actually hit the lottery that day. It is now 18 months later, and things have gone by all too quickly. I report to the Pentagon in a week. And while my early relief of command here and reassignment to the Beltway could be interpreted by some as a disciplinary action, it is truly a new experience that I look forward to. But I will always remember my service to the great staff of Kenner Army Health Clinic and the people of Fort Lee, Virginia. When I took charge of the MEDAC, it was immediately post-BRAC, a time when Fort Lee's unprecedented growth was projected to level off. And at that time, I had two main goals in mind to accomplish. First, connect with people. As a doctor, I learned long ago that the physician-patient connection is paramount to the success of the patient's well-being. In a similar vein, from day one, I've always tried to connect with people. To connect, you first have to listen, and once you connect, you gain understanding. Understanding shapes the path to effective action, which enables inspiration to usher in game-changing innovations. The final ingredient is feedback, through surveys, sensing sessions, social media, and so on, which is the final link that completes the cycle. It takes work, dedication, and time to pull this off, but I thought that if the commander could connect personally, the organization could connect with the community as well. This was in my playbook to take Kenner from good to great. By all accounts, I feel confident that Kenner has connected with our patients. We have connected with our staff, we have connected with our leaders, and we have connected with our community. And as a result, Kenner is well on the glide path to being Fort Lee's healthcare provider of choice and the heart of the DoD's premier integrated system for health. I sincerely hope that you in the audience who partake of our services agree. I could not be more proud of an organization as I am of Kenner Army Health Clinic. My second goal was to leave the place better than how I found it and set it up for further success. Every commander strives for legacy, which is hard since we are, as the new Secretary of State puts it, temporary workers of the organization. I believe my legacy will be leaders who are developed, staff who are enriched and inspired, and a health system that is better than it was when I first got here. The Kenner team has reached impressive milestones and has raised the bar for itself over the past 18 months. She provides higher quality and more satisfying care, is a safer place to work, is a more responsive employer, and is a better contributor to the Fort Lee community. Here are just a few highlights of the Kenner team's accomplishments. Kenner earned the Department of Army Safety Streamer for achieving 12 months free of Class A and B safety events. In other words, no safety-related deaths or serious injuries. In medical readiness, we engage leadership directly and proactively and put in their hands a bi-weekly readiness dashboard with more data than ever, which commanders can use to improve their unit readiness. Appointment no-show rates have dropped by 50% from 2011. Kenner is all in Major General Weitsch's suicide prevention program by connecting our behavioral health teams directly with unit leaders and providing online tools such as the Commander's Medical Readiness Rucksack. We received Level 3 recognition by the National Committee on Quality Assurance for Patient-Centered Medical Home, PCMH. This is the highest level of recognition awarded by this agency. This distinction is roughly comparable to TRADOC's Institute of Excellence rating for its schools, except it is bestowed by a nationally accepted civilian authority on quality. PCMH is a game-changing model of care, and this recognition puts us clearly on the path toward the military health system's vision of medical homes across the entire DoD enterprise. Kenner scored number one in the northern region and number 2 out of all 34 medical treatment facilities under the U.S. Army Medical Command in the 2011 Best MTF competition. This is essentially the Super Bowl for MedCom. We show that Kenner provides quality care while keeping administrative costs low. But more dear to my heart are some of the things we did to enrich our heritage. We rediscovered Major General Albert Kenner, World War I and World War II veteran, as a figure of historic significance by celebrating his 122nd birthday last year and creating a tradition for future birthday events. We also dedicated Troop Medical Clinic 2 while partnering with our ordnance brethren to the memory of Combat Medic Corporal Billy Mosier, a posthumous recipient of the Distinguished Service Cross during the Korean War. It is with great pride and humility that we welcome the family of these 2 war heroes of Army medicine to the Kenner team. We cried as a family at the death of one of our own soldiers early in my command. We helped Fort Lee units grieve over the deaths of their own. And we had open houses, fun Fridays, tacky holiday sweater days, continuous mega potlucks, blocked sewer pipes, earthquakes, and skunks, all of which round out the exciting lineup of events in Kenner's recent timeline. But Kenner's work and the work of Fort Lee is far from over. Since 9/11, in the age of the unthinkable, as some authors put it, our nation has been engrossed in the most challenging crucible of its modern time. A crucible forged by multiple threats to include the growing challenge to our nation's position as a global and moral leader, the shocking violence against citizens on our home soil, especially our children, the inexplicable and unacceptable epidemic of suicide and sexual harassment in our military, and the growing number of wounded warriors and families who are trying to restore normalcy to their lives. More locally, we are experiencing a twist in the story of our BRAC expansion from just a few years ago. For Fort Lee is now suffering from a budgetary whiplash induced by the paradox of fiscal uncertainty. There is no uncertainty in the fact that financial austerity and cuts will increase in the immediate future. Just ask Rodney Edge, our garrison commander, how many headache pills he's been taking this year. Army medicine is not immune to such cuts, and we at Kenner have to take measures to cut spending while we continue supporting Fort Lee and maintaining quality. These are only but a few of the many developments that shake our faith, threaten to hollow out our force, and challenge our nation, our military and Army medicine. And also, Kenner's work is unfinished when we consider that the Army surgeon always asks us the question, are we good enough? Is Army medicine good enough? And she reminds us that the sobering answer is no. We must maintain our momentum in bringing in the PCMH system to full operating capability, and we have to operationalize the performance triad, sleep, activity, and nutrition, in preserving fitness and in serving to heal our troops from illness and injury. I do have a lot of optimism for Kenner. Kenner has a warm spot in my heart and always will. If you show the people that you appreciate them, and they will do remarkable things for you. And Kenner will always be the protector of health and wellness for Fort Lee. I see no reason, despite the challenges ahead, why this should change. And under the hand of my successor, Colonel Tom Bunt, I see great things in the future of health care at Fort Lee. Now, lest you think I'm bragging just about me, it should be pretty obvious that my team's success is equal to my success. I cannot thank everyone individually, but I do want to take some time to talk about folks who had some significant impact on me. I'd like to first thank my 2 senior mission commanders that I've had, first Major General Hodge and now Major General Weich, who both treated me as an equal to their brigade commanders and set me up for success. Thank you, sirs, for your commitment to partnering with Army Medicine and its mission to preserve the fighting strength. To the First Ladies of Fort Lee, Michelle Hodge and Denise Weich, thank you for your constant support of Kenner. It's always nice to see your smiling face around the facility, ma'am, and your husbands as well. To Brigadier General Promotable Joe Carvalho, who personally mentored me in leadership and continues to shape my path. Likewise to Brigadier General Gwen Bingham, who's currently at White Sands Missile Range. Thank you both for being such great mentors. To my fellow brigade level commanders, I appreciate you being here, and I thank you for the camaraderie and the open communication that we've had over the time. Likewise for the commandants of the schools, I appreciate your openness and your ability to willingness to talk to me in times of need. To the leadership of our network healthcare system, you are commended for supporting our soldiers and families by extending our healthcare network. To our families, thank you so much for your loyal patronage and feedback. To the staff of Kenner Army Health Clinic, I thank each and every one of you for a great experience in my first command. I will treasure the memory of working with the best staff in the Army. To the medical company and the troops, I have truly enjoyed working with you, training with you, and doing PT. I am amazed at how you loyal band of moms, dads, single soldiers, single parents, students, etc. accomplish the mission every day with enthusiasm and determination. Colonel Daly said it best recently, medics never stand taller than when they kneel to treat the wounded. Kenner soldiers always stand tall. It has been a privilege serving with you. To my PAOs, I do thank Teresa Wade and Kimberly Fritz. As a closet PAO myself, I think I worked with you, you both hard, and I think we've achieved new heights in connecting with our customers. To Gail and Sharon, the command secretaries, I like to think of them as the Thelma and Louise of Kenner. You two ladies literally kept me from driving off a cliff by generously sharing your humor, wisdom, and can-do attitude. Most appreciative. To my Iron Lieutenant Colonels, the deputies, Lieutenant Colonel Promotable Rich Pryor and Mike Polsner, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Polson, and previously Lieutenant Colonels Marty Dopirak and Michelle Monroe, who I believe are in the audience. I sincerely hope that I have given you some new perspective and ideas as you pursue your aspirations in the Army. My Kenner Sevens, the Sergeant Majors, I've had 4 of them. Sergeant Major RDW Crosby present, Command Sergeant Major now, Dumont Carrion prior to him, and then I've had 2 actings, Master Sergeant Gathers and Master Sergeant Schwab. You are my battle buddies and help me stay the course. Don't ever forget our soldiers. And finally, thanks to my lifeline, my family. Wife Susan, my kids Annie, Josie, and Sean. They couldn't be here today physically, but they are definitely here in spirit. My brother and my sister John and Laurie, and my mom and dad Anna and John for supporting me in this experience. Colonel Bunt, I now pass the baton to you. Congratulations, Tom, on your new command. You are inheriting a great MEDAC. And what you will find out very quickly from General Weich is the greatest installation in the DoD. A few recommendations. First, make sure you calibrate your GPS when you drive around Fort Lee. It's very easy to get lost around here. There are 2A in Mahones and 2B in Mahones, and you've got to get used to that. Second, trust your deputies and the Sergeant Major. They are the best and most talented assistants you could possibly hope for. And finally, the flywheel is spinning with great momentum at Kenner. You have a great opportunity to take her higher, and I recommend you start by investing in her people and do your best to connect. I wish you and your family the very best in your commands. I move on to the next phase of my career as commander of the DiLorenzo Health Clinic at the Pentagon. I've been told that I was handpicked for the job, which usually means that nobody else wanted it. It is interesting to me to observe what happens when I tell people I'm going to the Pentagon. They say, "You have my congratulations," but their body language says, "You have my condolences." In any case, I expect to become an expert in prescribing lots of anxiety medication and blood pressure pills at the Pentagon as we wade through this time of financial change. But all kidding aside, I look forward to a challenging and rewarding tour coordinating the health care of some of our most senior leaders. I'd like to close with a quote. In a speech to the Wisconsin State Agricultural Society in 1859, just prior to his presidency, Abraham Lincoln remarked, "It is said an Eastern monarch once charged his wise men to invent him a sentence, to be ever in view, and which should be true and appropriate in all times and situations. They presented to him the words, 'And this too shall pass away.' How much it expresses, how chastening in the hour of pride, how consoling in the depths of affliction." As I close out my command, I am reminded by this quote that we are indeed temporary workers in this job, and the bittersweet emotion of this changing of the guard will soon be replaced by the fondness of memories, the satisfaction of a job complete, and the excitement of new challenges and broadening experiences. Your care, your trust, our mission, support starts here, serving to heal, honor to serve. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Commander of the United States Army Medical Department Activity, Fort Lee, Colonel Thomas S. Bryant.
Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Major General and Mrs. Weich, Colonel West, Mr. Moore, Mr. Weissman, Colonel Harney, Colonel Daly, fellow commanders, command sergeants, majors, distinguished guests, friends, and family. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to come and spend the change of command ceremony with us. Hoa. There are many great leaders, past and present, that I would love to thank in detail by name, but I won't. And for essence of time, please grant me the simple license to say thank you. To my wife Elizabeth and son Albert, who could not be here today, they are my inspiration. They tell me every day through their actions what is truly important in life. Nur de Klänge ihrer Stimme auf meine Herz zum Steigen. Just the sound of your voice makes my heart soar. I love my crew very much, and I look forward for them to join me here at fabulous Fort Lee. I also want to thank Colonel Joe Pena and his family, Susan and Sean, for their warm and seamless introduction to Fort Lee and Kenner. I'm proud to join this really great organization and know that it will challenge me in many ways, and I look forward to that challenge every day. It keeps us stimulated and sharp in our task, and there's no ending to learning. To the soldiers and staff of Kenner, try your best in all activities, large or small, on or off duty. Strive to improve yourself every day and take care of the military and the military family. And in that way, you sustain and maintain the most powerful armed force on the face of the earth. That is no simple task by any measure. Keep a great attitude and pursue excellence. Think on what Mia Hamm, soccer coach, says, who doesn't live too terribly far from here because that's UNC. He says, a true champion is one that does their very best when no one is watching. And in my final comments, the days ahead will definitely have their challenges, most certainly. Joe talked about them specifically, and I give him great credit for laying that out. But as we think of the challenges and we think of, oh, how overwhelming they are for life's rucksack, I ask you to hearken back to those who served before us. And I can almost guarantee you they would probably say the same thing. And I'll give you one example that I like to use. I pay this respect to my grandfather every time I do these sorts of ceremonies, and I will tell you, he would chuckle. He grew up in the Great War. He went through the Great Depression. He fought in World War II. He lost a brother and another one as a POW. Yet he held together and he carried on. That is true strength in the face of unbelievable challenge, sorrow, and pain. And I think knowing that, he would articulate it in a way that was laughable, affable, and plausible, and it made you feel good. And since I have my support brethren here now as my new family, the support does start here, I will put it and frame it in a way that would make more sense to you in your own task. Picture this. Picture going to the battlefield with 3 days' rations in your rucksack. 2 bandoliers of ammunition, and an MG-42 machine gun with the barrel shot out, and it's quite rusty. You walked because you no longer had trucks. Back to your fighting positions. In 1944 and 45 on the eastern side of the Oder River. I'll let you guess which side he fought on. And he did this time and time again. And he would say, they would look at each other not knowing whether they're going to come back or not, and many did not come back. And they'd say, Imma vida, imma vida. Always upward, always onward. And to this day, many of those same spirits survive in that same country and in my family, because I am from a mixed family. And I take great pride in that. And when I hear him say that to me as a kid, I think life is colorful and unpredictable. It's how we embrace it, encourage ourselves along it, and choose it as it will color us and those around us. And I choose to do that in a positive way every chance I get, and think we're so blessed for every day we get. Now with 16 PCS moves in 22 years, I can assure you I live by these same sentiments, or I wouldn't be here today. And my family does too. Once again, I thank you for being here today. I thank the soldiers and staff for the great job they've done. Thank you all for coming. Godspeed, serving to heal, honored to serve.
Please rise for the singing of the Army Song.